Army Colonel David Hackworth, born in 1931, lost both of his parents before he had his first birthday. His grandmother raised him. He joined the Army at age 15 to fight in the final days of World War II. His entire military career took him into 7 war zones, and his remarkable combat valor won him more medals than could ever fit on his uniform. We remember him especially for his poignant quote about the reality of combat. "If you find yourself in a fair fight," Hackworth said, "you didn't plan your mission properly." Is Hackworth right about that? Doesn't some code of military honor require a fair fight, or is that only true in romance novels? Others have joined this debate. General Tommy Franks of Desert Storm fame went even further, saying that a military commander has a duty never to intentionally commit his troops to a fair fight. What do you think? When you're responsible for the very lives of other human beings, are you allowed to, what word am I looking for? Bend the rules? Cheat? To cheat means to act unfairly or dishonestly to deceive or trick. We don't normally want to encourage dishonesty. In our language, we have the phrase, to cheat death. And to cheat death, we deem a very good outcome. When you have the responsibility for another person's life, you should use every legitimate means available to protect that life. Let's consider a different life and death situation. A hypothetical company, Acme Automotive, has had a very successful sales year with their brand new Rolling Thunder sports sedan. However, this fantastically popular vehicle, primarily with fun-loving yuppie drivers, has also racked up a significant tally of fatal auto accidents. 1 in 6 of these accidents, Acme's engineers attribute to the failure of their brakes. Acme manufacturing executives have long recognized that fabrication of their revolutionary brake design requires exceptionally diligent attention to detail. So, Acme assembly line workers must have completed rigorous training with frequent recertification to make sure they know exactly how to do their jobs perfectly. Results really should be much better next year, according to Acme. It does sound like Acme is acting responsibly. So, would you consider buying a Rolling Thunder sports sedan this coming year? Let's look at another life-threatening situation, this time in healthcare. According to a 2013 article published in the Journal of Patient Safety, Dr. John T. James reports that patient adverse events, his politically correct term for hospital medical mistakes, contribute to the death of approximately 440,000 patients in America each year. That's roughly 1/6 of the 2.5 million total deaths that occur in the United States each year. 37% of Americans die outside of hospitals. So in fact, hospital medical errors contribute to the death of roughly 1/4 of all patients who die in U.S. hospitals. That's worse than Acme Automotive's brakes. So where are we? In the hypothetical Acme Automotive case, we would probably prefer that they redesign their brakes again to make it impossible to install them incorrectly. What about hospital mistakes? Real mistakes, not hypothetical. Real healthcare professionals working in real hospitals have been thoroughly taught, first, do no harm. That fundamental adage of healthcare, suggested originally by the Hippocratic Oath, but more specifically expressed in the early 19th century oral teachings of French clinician Auguste François Chamal, has deep significance for physicians and nurses. First, do no harm. Providers of anesthetic care specifically see themselves proudly as members of a medical specialty with a distinguished record for patient safety. Our safety improvements, resulting from focused effort, financial investment, scientific research, and rapid uniform adoption of improved practice standards. But the anesthesia specialty also believes that it must keep working on safety to stay in a leadership position. The data suggests that hospital mistakes totaled across all specialties have not diminished over the last 2 decades, and indeed, they have become more frequent. But we should not find the upward trend in mistakes surprising, because the complexity of medicine is expanding continuously, actually exponentially. For example, anesthetists trained 40 years ago prepared to give anesthetics for probably less than 300 different surgical procedures. Today, the number of individually coded surgical procedures approaches 7,000. So, in the interest of achieving higher honors in patient safety, I would like to ask, can we let go of some of our traditions that might be hampering our improvement? So what tradition am I referring to? Well, think about the process one goes through in medical education. That process leads us all to formulate a particular image of a capable medical practitioner. What attributes come to your mind? Perhaps words like vast knowledge, remembers everything, steel-trap mind, knows every detail of his or her patient's life and disease. The culture of healthcare, from beginning to end, has placed an extraordinary premium on mental retention of information. Do doctors and nurses ever take an open book examination? Of course not. We give awards to students who spontaneously quote journal articles at the bedside, complete with the author's name, the journal, and the date it was published. We celebrate the student who can recite every turn, branch, and path of the cranial nerves. That sort of performance mystique has led us to believe that memory gymnastics, diligent study, continuous training surely will vanquish all errors in healthcare. We are hell-bent to even ramp up more training until the errors cease. But in fact, that passion for memory and training in healthcare has blinded us. It has stopped us from taking the steps we actually need to take to reduce the frequency of errors. Let me illustrate. Our own literature in medicine attests over and over again to the dramatic success of the timeout ritual. It reduces errors in surgery. Yet we've all observed instances of passive opposition to that process within the ranks of our profession. If we could put words to that opposition, they would probably sound like this. Good doctors and nurses like us, we don't need that silly timeout. That's only needed by the incompetent. In other words, the use of mnemonics, checklists, cues, cheat sheets, if you will, go against the historic attributes we prize within the medical community. What's wrong with us that we can disdain the use of techniques proven in soundly conducted research trials to reduce bad outcomes and even deaths? We borrowed the timeout technique from the pre-flight checklist used in aviation. Airline pilots also take responsibility for the lives of others, and they have not just one checklist, but notebooks full of checklists on board every plane, checklists that cover every possible emergency condition. Pilots do not casually make up their own checklists, but specially trained engineers working with pilots carefully craft and then test each checklist in simulation to verify that the procedure indeed leads to faster, safer resolution of a dangerous event or condition. No one wants to stop any efforts to train people and teach new skills in medicine, but counting only on human memory will not stop errors. The popular image of the absent-minded professor reminds us that brilliance of mind does not eliminate mistakes. To eliminate mistakes, we have to search for changes in our work processes that make errors impossible. If we fail in that search, we must instead find ways to put cues into our environment that make omissions and errors difficult. Changes in process or design that make errors impossible, we commonly refer to as forcing functions. Designers of equipment and devices who try to build the cues to proper use directly into the device itself call this approach putting information into the world. Donald Norman, a prolific author in the field of design, coined that phrase, putting information into the world. Norman's books on good design make for fascinating reading for anyone intent on eliminating mistakes. Forcing functions and putting information into the world both work effectively. And we actually have experienced that fact in our own specialty. In anesthesia, forcing functions keep us from delivering hypoxic gas mixtures or loading the wrong anesthetic into a vaporizer. Adding little check boxes to an anesthetic record constitutes putting cues into the world to focus attention onto essential steps in giving an anesthetic. Examples exist in all specialties. For example, in emergency rooms, putting information into the world has made the administration of an aspirin tablet to possible heart attack victims fast and consistent. When ERs relied only on their practitioner's memory, many heart attack victims in the chaos of emergency care never got an aspirin. Similarly, pediatricians once did a miserable job of immunizing children until their office scheduling systems took over the burden of reminding them of the shots needed at every visit. Taking concentrated doses of potassium out of the stock rooms on patient care units constitutes a forcing function that makes it impossible to casually pick up a lethal injection instead of a helpful one. I want to make sure you understand that forcing functions and putting information into the world have utility far beyond the product design arena where they were first defined. But what can you do personally, right away, to start changing the healthcare culture that enables errors. In your next departmental morbidity and mortality or quality conference, why not insist that the attendees find a forcing function or a way to put information into the world for every root cause mistake identified in the cases under discussion? Taking that simple step will not prove that easy or simple. That sort of workflow redesign can require considerable mental effort and indeed may even prove impossible for every case. But if we don't try to go beyond simply discussing the problem, in other words, the training approach, I can guarantee patient safety will not advance. I can guarantee the same mistake will come back to the conference in the future again and again at the cost of another injury or even death. I'm sure you recognize that computers, especially ones that can be held in one's hand, have created exciting opportunities for us to more easily put information into the world. Commonly, we have relied on computer professionals to build such capabilities for us. But progress along these lines, frankly, has moved slowly. Some evidence suggests we may see this situation change very soon. Google has coined the term hybrid thinking to describe its new research initiative designed for individuals to interactively borrow massive computer power to support real-time creative thinking, even in healthcare. They want to move beyond their current forte of information retrieval to help out with analysis and creative thinking on demand. Apple has been working diligently on a similarly ambitious move. Apple wants to make the process of creating software for their iPads and iPhones intuitive and doable for everyone. They seriously want physicians and nurses, actually everyone, to have the ability to create applications that can change the reliability and the ease of the common processes in our work and in our lives. They want us to be able to do that for ourselves. They call their new app's language Swift. And they're giving away the necessary programming tools, and free Swift tutorials exist today on the internet. Sean Cutts at FactFiber, a small software company in Massachusetts, has created a program called CarePrints that will allow hospitals, especially anesthetists, to crowdsource notes and cues for specific procedures, not as formal protocols, but as shared curbside consults among clinicians. The CarePrint format allows everyone to contribute tips while allowing designated experts to referee the content. Cutts designed the format to foster reliable propagation of new practices, to foster case-specific checklists, and to encourage thorough, relevant information exchanges during patient care transfers. CarePrints has a website you can visit to understand exactly how it works. Sean Cutts is currently seeking institutions willing to beta test this fundamental, highly adaptive approach to more reliable healthcare services. So, we do live in interesting times, and when it comes to eliminating mistakes that can harm, we should cheat, or at least let go of our old tradition of pride over our wonderful but fallible memory. to err remains a permanent human quality, no matter how hard we train it. Process redesign, on the other hand, has no such limitations.